practice we've known, and we'll take questions.
Yeah, in 1 second.
Yes, sir.
All right, so we had a chance to get some live work in today, which was good. We talked about during the week coming out here, starting fast, and we did a little bit of a normal practice in the beginning. So we had our install period. We did some individual. We hit special teams early. We did some openers, which were not live, and then we did a little bit more special teams. Came back with some open field live. Hit another round of special teams, and then finished with some red zone live work. And so I thought the guys handled that well. It was good to see just some football being played, tackles being made, tackles being broken, and see these guys just go out there and really just play the game. It's been a while since we had a chance to do that. And then just let guys get reps and see these guys under some live conditions. So I know for our coaches, when they go back and watch the film tonight, they can evaluate, which will help us moving forward in what we're going to do in the next part of spring practices, based off what we see today. How much work do we need in certain areas? Tackling is always one that shows up. You want to work that. You never get a chance to do it enough. Ball security, decision making from every position, but especially quarterbacks. And then just situations as they come up. And that's really for coordinators too, just so they can call plays, they can deal with what the officials are calling out there and having to go out there and adjust on the game plans. But a few things that stood out today. So I thought the quarterbacks, there were some really good things, and then some decision making that we can improve on, which always shows up. Finley was 7 of 10. He had a good day today. Tank carried the ball 9 times, had a touchdown. Sean Jackson had 5 carries, and so he was very productive. Jordan Ingram had a touchdown today, a long run, so he broke a few tackles. So we had a couple rushing touchdowns. 9 players that caught the ball, so different wide receivers, tight ends. I thought the tight ends caught the ball well today, and that was good. And our wideouts did make some plays. We didn't have really any explosives. The defense did a good job there, but I thought the receivers, from some of the intermediate throws, made some good catches, broke some tackles. So there were some positives. We had about 80 plays in this scrimmage here. The defense had 6 sacks. Our quarterbacks are not live, so that's always a little bit difficult for the quarterbacks. They think they're not sacked. The defense thinks they are. So you got to go back and kind of play that game some. But the defense did a good job up front. Caleb Wooden had another turnover. He's been doing a really good job in that area. And then Dylan Brooks, one of our younger players, had a couple sacks. And then other guys, Derek, Colby, some of our guys that have played, they made plays as well. But those were a few of the highlights from the scrimmage today. Overall, I thought the energy was good. Plenty of things from an execution standpoint to improve on, but we did come out with really good energy throughout the scrimmage. I thought we continued to keep pushing ourselves as far as just working through some of just the fatigue, which is important for us, and then at the end just finishing. And so we had a few things there at the end with the white group, which is our threes. They were able to finish out the drive, score, and then we got our special teams kicks in. Ben Patton was kicking today, and I thought he did a good job from that standpoint. A little windy out there, so some conditions, and he handled that well. But overall, solid. Solid. Some positives. When I watch the film, we'll take some things away and we'll apply it to what we're doing moving forward. But I thought overall solid from our guys, and then just the main thing now is taking that, the practices that we've had, taking this scrimmage, and using that information for what we're going to do moving forward. And every single guy really looking at what it is they have to do to improve their craft. All right, whatever that is. The fundamentals right now is really what we're talking about. How do we improve in those areas? And then just picking it up even more. The energy, enthusiasm, effort, all those things have got to keep improving as we move forward. So with that, questions?
Got it.
Bryan, you mentioned throwing out a couple sacks. How good is it to see that, just in terms of developing that edge depth right now, and what were sort of the goals, I guess, in terms of developing that?
Well, let me start first of all with Derek and Eku. Those 2 guys, they played for us, and I think those 2 guys have had a really good spring. from the standpoint of coaching both those players, they're going to give you great effort. They're always going to work hard. I think they feed off each other. Derek's a tremendous leader. Eku is a guy that has really done a great job. So those two guys in particular are showing up every single day. Weight room, football field, you name it. And Derek has really been a guy that's emerged as a leader. I think he's always had that in him. You see more of that now, and I love being around that guy. And so I think that has really helped Dylan at that position too. Dylan has a guy, he has someone to look up to. He has someone that knows the position, that plays at a high level. Eku as well, because both those guys are doing a really, really good job. So now Dylan has a chance to be around that. His game is elevating. He's learning, he's growing, he's getting stronger, he's getting bigger, but his game is improving. And it's good to see, because the depth right now is, those three guys really getting most of the reps. And so he needs to come along. He knows that, but he's got two really good guys around him that are coaching him, helping him. Coach Rock has been awesome in that room, and with our special teams. So I think he's a great addition to coaching those three guys in that room in particular. And I think that's showing up right now with Dylan's progress.
Bryan, Caleb Wood looked like he made an interception on that near the end of practice. What can you say about him and his play so far this year?
You talking about the other day?
No.
Are you talking about today?
Yeah, was it?
Oh yeah, well we had one the other day too,
Okay.
which was questionable.
You had me
But
confused there for a second.
somehow he got a screenshot of it, and I'm not sure if he cropped his toe off the white line or whatever, but it was good.
Okay.
So he got the Snickers out of it. So he had a pick the other day in practice. I'll tell you what, he's around the ball. He's around the ball, and when he gets a chance to get his hands on it, he's come down with it quite a bit. So yeah, he had a pick today, and I'll go take a look at it. I couldn't tell you all the details of it, but we gave him a turnover, and he continues to be around the ball. Young player learning, right? He's just getting all the kind of just the basics of the defense right now, but he does go out there and work hard, and very much like his brother. I mean, those guys, they work, and he's developing himself into being a guy that's around the football. Plenty of things to get better at, but he has fun out there. I think he's got some confidence when the ball's in the air that he can come down with it and make a play, and he's been able to do that in quite a few practices so far.
Yeah, Coach, could you talk about, in addition to building a team this spring, you've got a coaching staff with new faces on it, and getting everybody working together smoothly?
Yeah, well, I would say that's been handled really well, I think, with our coordinators, number one. You go back to, all right, Coach Brumbaugh on the defensive line. I sat in Coach Brumbaugh's meeting yesterday, and I told the players this too. It was one of the best meetings I've been a part of, and how he was teaching the guys the information, the examples. And so I left that meeting room, I was very impressed with what he was teaching and the way he was teaching it. Coach Robinson, being around him, when I interviewed him, here's a good young coach that his dad's been, his dad's a high school coach. He's been around the game his whole life. You could tell when you talk to him. Awesome to be around, great energy. The players love him, recruits love him. He gets it, and so and he's a guy again that is going to come in and do his work and have himself prepared. Rock, he's been doing this a long time. He's got a lot of experience that shows up in the meetings when he's in front of the whole entire team on special teams. He's got a great way of coaching players and getting the most out of them. A little thing today, but I told our players this: our scout team, when we have guys go out there and play the scout team, usually they forget. Then they don't show up, right? You're screaming for guys, you're trying to find them. Didn't happen today. It's a little thing, but I think that goes back to organization and just a coach making it important, and those guys actually doing it. So it's a small thing, but it makes a big difference. On the offensive side, Coach Keesaw, I think he's done a really good job of just keeping that room organized. We have some analysts and some GAs that are new here, but they pay attention. And with Ike Hilliard, he brings a lot of experience. And the one thing about Ike's learning the things that we do. So he's still in that phase right now. He didn't know everything about what we've done, and these guys on the offensive side have been together. And so he doesn't know all that yet, but he figures it out. And if there's something that he didn't know, he's such a low ego, high output guy. It's like, hey, let's just make an adjustment. We need to change this, make an adjustment. And then when you get talking ball with him and the different offenses he's been around and the different coaches, that guy knows ball. He knows how to teach it. He knows where to find a cut up. He knows where to find a look. He knows exactly the details of the concept. We might call it one thing and he called it another, same concept. And then the coaching points. And now as he's getting into it and seeing the things that we do, he's bringing ideas from what he's done, like, all right, hey, this will fit. And you're seeing that, with some of the things that we've been doing on the offensive side that he's bringing to the table. And it's just going to be more and more of that. But the staff has been really, really good, easy to work with. These guys get along. I think they're really good teachers. It's important to them, and as far as the relationship with the players, that seems to be going really well.
Bill?
Yeah, sorry about, well, Philip's not here, so the old guys.
Yeah.
You talked about getting Tank more involved. He was working a little bit punt return. Does he figure in that possible?
We're working on it. Yeah, we're working on it. We'll see. The one thing is we're trying to find returners. That's a part of spring. Who are those guys going to be? He's been on kickoff return. Now we're looking at punt return. Var's not out there right now getting the work. He had a hamstring, so he's not out there getting that in. You got Jay Fair out there getting some work in there. Nehemiah Pritchett's got some work in there. Tavares Dawson is a guy that's done it. A few guys right now, just so you guys are aware, J.J. Evans, so he's out right now. He had a little cleanup on his knee, so that's going to be about 8 weeks. Jarquez Hunter had a little cleanup on his leg there, so that'll be probably about 8-10 weeks for him as well, and it was time to do it. Obviously Nick Brahms isn't out there. We know Zach Calzada is not able to do the live work. He can scrimmage, or he can do practice, just not the live scrimmage work. We can't chance it. He's still got his shoulder. Brandon Council is healing. We'll have him back in the summer. Keandre Jones had a little tweak the other day, but should be back and be able to finish out spring practice. Austin Troxel isn't going, but he looks good. Just a few of those guys. But yeah, Tank, all of our guys, somehow, some way, we're going to have our guys that played somewhere on special teams. At least one of them in there. So Tank's, getting a few reps back there.
Tobias?
Coach, what have you so far noticed when it comes to how your offensive line, particularly you missing a few guys, has been working with some of those guys who maybe were second and third string units, now getting first team reps?
Yeah, well, they're getting better. That's the one thing. The guys that have been the backups, you don't get as many reps, and the more reps you get, the better you get. You just got more on tape. You learn more. You get coached more. You get feedback. So those guys are improving, and then you go back and some of those guys that played, right? We talked about Troxel, Council, Brahms. They've gotten reps, and they got to get back in the mix in the summertime, so that will be a big thing for them. But some of those guys that played a little bit, some guys that haven't played at all, they're getting a lot more reps, so they're just getting coached up. And it's also the attention's on them, and so they're watching themselves on film, and so they get to see, all right, what did I do well, what did I do poorly, what am I going to do next practice? So from that standpoint, assuming that those guys that played come back and they improve, and they're competing with the guys right now, all right, then we have better depth. You have more competition, better depth, which is going to create, hopefully, better performance with those guys up front. A few other guys, too, just on the defensive side, I want to make sure. Emba, Sammy Cohen, Owen Papo, Garrison Walker, Marquise Burks is limited a little bit. And then you guys know Zion Puckett. He's got the yellow jersey on. He's out there not in the live work. He wants to go. We want him out there. We didn't do any live work with him, but he'll keep practicing, and we'll see where he's at. And then Anders Carlson's coming along. So feel good about his progress right now. But the O-line, that's really going to be interesting to see as we finish out spring, right? How those guys improve, those guys that come back, what it looks like going into the summer, and then what Coach Friend's going to do with those guys.
Yeah.
Yes, Brian, you mentioned Caleb Wooden, any other young guys or newcomers sort of stand out to you so far?
I think Jay Fair, he's getting more reps. So, and Jay's just learning. And you can see a little bit too, like right now, you start getting that 4th and 5th install. So the young guys, it starts to become a lot. I think Holden's done some good things. And now you'll get a chance to go back and review a lot of this stuff. So Holden, Jay, JD Rim, he's a guy that the other day we had a little bit of a live period. It was a goal line period. He came up and he was really physical. And you don't know that. You don't know what that's going to look like from some of these young players. And he went in there and stuck his shoulder on the ball, caused a fumble, made a big play. So, and then some of the new guys as well. Jason Jones, good to see him. He's played. He's not a young guy, but some of these new players that we brought in just to get them out there and let those guys play for the first time, get a chance to see them in our schemes. There's been a lot of positive from that standpoint. We've got ways to go, but it's still good to get out there and play real football and then have that on tape and see what we need to do moving forward.
Tom.
Bryan, a couple of players we were talking to the other day said it felt like you were making more of an effort to kind of get to know them off the field too. Just what's that been like for you this offseason? Just
Yeah,
kind of.
I know them better. Just spending time with them. I think that's one thing with our guys. And I wouldn't say it's just me. I think our players too. We know each other better. We spent more time. I think some of the things that we're able to do now without some of the restrictions, I think that helps. I think our coaches, I really think our coaches are doing a really good job of connecting with our players, and those guys that now have been in our systems are coming in and they're seeing this is how we want to do things. Here's the stuff that we can do to get better. So I don't think it's really one thing in particular. I think it's everybody. And I think we got some good leaders on this team. John Samuel Shanker, Owen Papo, Derek Hall, Killian, Nick Brahms. I mean, there's guys on this team that have shown leadership in different ways, but are also, I think, have stepped up and have helped build the cohesion and the chemistry. And it's important to them too. Our locker room's different. So it's not just anything in particular with any coaches and all that. I think our locker room is different. I think the ability to get in there after a practice and for players to be able to say something after a practice, like, look, you're feeling a certain way, you want to say something, it's important. I think everybody needs to hear it, and somebody's able to say it, and people actually listen. There's a big difference when you're able to stand up and lead because you feel like in that moment it's needed, right? And so then you need to provide it. And the guys actually listen. So someone gets up, hey, they feel like it's coming from the heart, whatever it is, that's different than where we were before. And I think it's because guys mean it. And I think also guys understand how to follow at certain times too. And to me, that's where this team is built. That chemistry is you just got players that are connected better. You got guys when it's time to lead, they're able to, and guys will listen. And you know what, someone else has something to say. It's not everybody's getting up and having a speech, but if somebody feels a certain way, they're going to listen to them. And I think the coaches have promoted that, and it's been part of what we've needed to do to make improvements on this team. So I would say it's more about our players. Like they're leading, they're learning to lead, they're helping each other out. It's important. They're listening to each other. That's a big difference. When you're in a locker room and that locker room is good and people will listen to each other and there's some leadership being provided, to me that makes a big difference.
We'll take 3 more, Coach, if that's all right.
Yeah.
Jason?
Ron, what's the kind of, is there a timetable for Calzada in terms of being able to kind of cut it loose, or will that be after spring before?
Yeah, it's going to be after spring. They're going to keep him in the brace. So I mean, he wants to, and he can spin it now. So he's been out there, and that ball jumps out of his hand. He stands back there, and he's getting every mental rep he can possibly get. And I know it's killing him. You can see it in his eyes, right? He wants to compete. He wants to play. You know, he feels like he can. But we're not going to put him in a situation where that's going to slow down the progress of his healing. But he's doing everything he can to get every mental rep in the meetings, paying attention. So come summertime, we get into those player run practices, he'll be ready for that. And then come fall camp, you know, he'll get his reps, he'll be full go, and we'll see where he's at. So he's done everything he could possibly do at this point.
Justin?
On the leadership aspect, that's interesting. So how does it manifest itself? I mean, you talked about it being different now. What do you think that leads to in the summer, and then I guess maybe moving into the summer, just that leadership aspect, the guys listening?
Yeah, I think just more cohesion. I think you're going to have a better team. You got guys, you know, coaches right now. Coaches are getting a chance to talk about leadership with our guys. So that's something that through this spring, each one of our full-time coaches gets their opportunity to get up in front of the team. They get to lead the team. You get to be the head coach, talk about leadership. You know, this is your opportunity to share what you think it is and let these guys hear from you and some examples. I think what it does is, I always think this, when leadership's needed, all right, provide it. And it can come from anybody too. And I also think that you see guys, it's not just the star players, it's other guys on the team. There's a lot of guys on this team that nobody knows that work really, really hard. And I think our players respect that. And not everybody's talking about them. They're not the people that are the ones you're asking about, but they're really important to our team. Guys appreciate that. Leaders on our team point that out. Leaders, when we're not doing something right, they point it out. There needs to be accountability. They understand that. And then guess what? Somebody listens to it. So, you know, that's a big difference. And so if you're trying to get further and you're trying to move along and improve and get there faster, then you need to have people that will actually follow. You know, so whoever, somebody steps up and it's time to lead, like this isn't good enough, everybody recognizes that and said, you're right, it's not good enough. All right, let's go, let's make it better. You know, we've had those moments where, you know, some teams in the past, you know, I've been a part of teams where it's like, hey, it's the right thing, and everybody said it and they don't want any part of it. Well, then you're not getting any better. And then after a while, nobody wants to say anything. If you don't have people that will follow or listen, no one wants to say anything, and then it's just one of those, like, you all know what's going on, everybody knows it, but nobody says anything, and you just keep going about your day, and there's nothing more draining than being around that. Knowing that, like, nothing's gonna change, like it's gonna be the same thing. Oh, it happened again, no one's gonna say anything, and we move on. Or if somebody says something, there's pushback on it, and it never changes, but it's something that needs to change. I don't think that's where we are right now. I think we're in a better spot. There's respect, you know, I think there's trust. And I think the players, they really want to make progress. So if there's something that we need to do, that's where the leadership piece comes into play. And we just got guys that are willing to step up, which is something that I think is really hard for people to do, especially now. It's just, you know, leadership isn't always popular. You got to stand up and say something, but, you know, sometimes, like, the best thing for the team is that somebody says, hey, we got to do something better. All right, well, it's the end of practice. Yeah, you know what, we got to go do this again. That wasn't good enough. We're going to stay on our own. We're going to go out there and run all these plays by ourselves without the coaches out there, because we need to do this so that we can go execute better when we get in the scrimmage. And guys actually go do that. Sometimes teams, they'll just walk off the field. They want no part of it. So it's not on film. There's no coaches out there, but those are moments where teams can improve, and so I think that's where leadership comes into play.
Last one's from Nathan King.
Bryan, we talked to Eric Keesall last week. He said tank has been a big focus, and he said some of the coaches have even kind of looked at some NFL tape, just kind of ways to optimize him with the offense. What has that process kind of been like this offseason? Y'all working through some different stuff to try to make him even better?
Yeah, we're always looking at NFL film either way for all of our positions, not just the run game or tank in particular, but all the positions. That's the highest level. You got great players. They do it the right way. So you're trying to use those clips as examples and all that. But Tank, Jarquez, Sean, Jordan, those guys, Damari when he gets here, they're all going to be a part of the run game. And so I think we're just looking at things that we did last year, things we can improve on, and looking at how we can run the ball and be successful. And then obviously Tank is a big part of that. So you know, it just goes back to some film study and things that we want to do, and then examples of how we want to work that with the O-line and put all those things together, and Tank's obviously going to be a big factor in that.
All right, Coach. Thank you.
All right, appreciate